I'm Mike Tyson, and I'm going undercover on the internet.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Mike Tyson is an absolute legend and went from poverty to fame. During all of his struggles, one thing seems to have resonated. If you want to win big at life, you need to take big steps towards your future.
The guidelines to put them in there for a long time because the people don't want them to ever come out.
Mike Tyson is considered one of the best heavyweight boxers of all times. He's best known not only for his intimidating boxing style, but for his controversial behavior inside and outside the ring. In 1992, Tyson was convicted of rape and sentenced to 6 years in prison. Although he was released on parole after 3 years, he again went to jail in 1999 on assault charges.
Practical for me because I was a short boxer. I wasn't tall, I had short arms, so it was very difficult for me to get to.
With his firsthand knowledge of prison life, Mike Tyson says prisons aren't doing a good job of rehabilitating inmates. He feels prison is debilitating, not rehabilitating, and the criminal justice system is a disgrace.
You're not a loser. You could tell your success by your adversaries. They're not after no loser.
Throughout his childhood, Mike Tyson lived in and around neighborhoods with high crime rates. By the age of 13, he had been arrested 38 times. His boxing ability was discovered by a juvenile detention center counselor who happened to be a former boxer. Tyson trained for a few months and was eventually introduced to Cus D'Amato, who became his boxing manager and trainer.
Well, from what I can remember from the day I was born, it was always hard times.
Mike Tyson was 16 years old when his mother died, leaving him in the care of Cus D'Amato, who would also become his legal guardian. Despite his troubles in and out of the ring, Mike Tyson continued to show an optimism and spirit that would carry him through good times and bad. He has said that we write our own story in life.
Discipline, and I didn't know what discipline was, so he explained to that. Discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love.
And that time is like a book. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And regardless of what you may think of him, Mike Tyson was one of the most successful people in history in his field. And there's much to learn from him and his life. After all, everyone has a plan, till you get punched in the mouth.
You must be prepared to do something because you have something lovely, somebody could want to challenge you for it.
I ran. I was 12. He must have been 14. I ran. Because that's what you do. You try to get away. And I ran. And you would think that God, that would just send somebody straight. That same that me and my other friends, we hooked up a little bit later. Let's get another house. And that's just what it was. This is how we lived our life. Most of my friends are pretty much dead. Else they got so much time. I'm going to visit some guys tomorrow, and they got caught under this Rockefeller law. They got 240 years. One of my friends got 5 life sentences. He's only 50. And so these are the people that I go and see once a month, sometimes twice a month, because these are my friends. These are who we grew up. These are the guys I stayed over their house when my mother was doing what she was doing. These are my family, and that's what I do. I go see all my friends, and they'll be so intrigued to know I'm at this particular type of event talking about the situation when we were talking about, I was hearing them talking about these hard laws and helping people when they get out. It's going to be a real neat trick to do that because those laws was the guidelines to put them in there for a long time because the people don't want them to ever come out and still get the $60,000 from them, or us, so to speak. Well, from what I can remember from the day I was born, it was always hard times, welfare, not much food, no money, crime-infested neighborhoods, murders, pimps, prostitutes, drugs, and it was survival of the fittest. And I had an older brother who was 5 years older than me, so he didn't spend much time around the house. He was in the programs. He was very smart and intelligent. He was a special kid on the block that was always in school. And me and my sister got caught up in the street life. So I was bullied a lot as a kid. I used to have pigeons, and one particular time some bully grabbed one of my pigeons and ripped his head off, and that was the first time I ever got into a fight. And I kind of like won. I was young, like 9, but I kind of like won. And I like fighting ever since because it gave me attention. People would say, hey, you was that guy that beat that big kid up. You was that guy. And I was like, everybody knew me from that incident. And so after that, older kids would bring other kids from different neighborhoods around my neighborhood, and they would pay us to fight each other. And that's how I started fighting. I probably had, in my life, I probably had 400 fights.
Have you adjusted to being an animal? Because it may not seem because you're adjusted, but it's, this is a form of, if you could say, a circus or animal taming-like environment. And we say we have to adjust in order to survive, but in any kind of environment that you're in, even though if you're outside, God, anybody that actually obeys authority is not actually free. Well, there's no doubt about it. We write our own story in life. Whatever good we do in life, we get good in return. Whatever ill we do, we get ill in return. Let me see, if I was to put in this frame, I would say, I admire the act of treachery, but I hate a traitor. It's just the fact that, for someone to take someone's life, you really never know until you actually spend the amount of time in prison. This is only 2 years for me. And you realize there are vicious people. We use the word vicious like a vicious person, but vicious is very malice, attack, malice, and it's just to obliviate life and their family's life. Buying everyone champagne and going in the clubs and living a gay life. We're in a very lethargic type of atmosphere where there's a great deal of people that are confused because they don't understand. They've never been around someone like me. They never hardly experienced being around minorities in general. I was going to do 20 miles and I just dozed for a second and I was on top of a friend of mine, very close, and the wheel was, and I put on the brakes and the bike just went from under me. I'm just very confident I know what I can do. Like I was explaining, I get sometimes lackadaisical and I get caught up with who I am sometimes and I fall astray sometimes. We mustn't take for granted that Van Holyfield's an incredible fighter. You just can't take that away. But I know me and my best family community where people look after one another and cared about one another, but still again, it'll be a switch in a terror rage or coming in, everybody's shooting in the neighborhood and it's just, you think you're watching the 20s, reenactment, guys in cars shooting back. And we as individuals, we have our own life to live. And as fathers and sons, even though we come from them, we're not of them. We just have to live our life by the way we see life and in the eyes in which we see them from. Not the counter-revolution, but like a Miles revolution where you're so involved into the red book in which you as a child, that's your life. And you don't look at it hurting somebody. As soon as you hit the guy you win the fight, you hug the guy. The first thing you hug is shake his hand.